Are you feeling disconnected from your intuition as a parent? Today, we're discussing how to tap into your inner guidance system, even in the midst of a busy family life. You'll discover how science and spirituality converge to help you become a more centered, intuitive parent. Welcome back to Fulfillment Therapy. I'm your host, Kendra Nielsen, and today we're jumping into the world of meditation and finding your personal path to quieting your mind. So, whether you're a busy parent or an overwhelmed spouse, or just looking to reignite that spark in life, this episode is meant just for you. Now, before I jump into it, I just want to remind you to check out our blog on fulfillmenttherapy.org/blog. And we have everything from all of our podcast episodes there for you to go back and utilize. If there's anything you feel like you missed or you want to remember a certain thing, you can get all of the details there. So check it out. All right. So for today, when I was writing and researching on this topic, I was thinking about how everything comes back to mindfulness, to meditation, to stillness. And I often get discouraged because I feel like it's hard for me to quiet my mind. No matter how much I try, no matter how much I train, and I have clients that say the same thing. And there's been things that I've been listening to lately and reading about that remind me that it doesn't have to be so complicated. It doesn't have to look like something that works for only some people, but it can be very much aligned to who we are. And I'll explain all of that in just a minute, and it's going to be relieving, I promise you. But first, I want to start with a story about my client, who I'm going to call Jen. And she is a mom of 4. She's always running on fumes like many of you, and she feels like she's barely keeping her head above water. I promise you her struggles are like many that you have told me as listeners, whether that's marriage struggles or faith struggles, parenting issues, and most of these things most people will never know about. You're silently struggling, just like this client, Jen. And she came to me seeking help, feeling like she was never getting answers from any higher power or elsewhere, despite reading books, doing all of these things. And she really had tried. As I worked with her, little did she know that in our short time working together, the answer was closer than she thought. But we'll come back to her story in just a minute. So when we talk about meditation, many of us picture sitting cross-legged on that cushion, that Zen position or that Buddhist position, trying to empty our minds and just relaxing and being like a giant hippie, right? Here's the thing. Meditation can actually look different for everyone. It's about finding an activity that allows you to quiet your mind and open yourself up to something greater. So it's not this one-size-fits-all that I believe that it has been for a long time. It can actually be as simple as gardening, painting, walking, or even running, things that you already enjoy. The key is finding what works for you. And I did not allow this for the longest time. I thought it had to be something, and I just had to keep white-knuckling it and trying to be like something else that I couldn't seem to achieve. And I'm not saying that I can't get there some way in the future, but as for now and what I've been trying, it just wasn't working. But the goal here is to create space. And by quieting our minds, we're creating an opening for intuition or revelation. Now, if you're not religious or anything, please don't shut your mind and heart down here. We're saying the same things, but using different words. So I want to define some terms for you here so you can better understand what I'm talking about instead of just hearing something that sounds religious and shutting down. Revelation is just simply making something known that was previously secret or hidden. Now, in religious contexts, it's often seen as this divine guidance. And if you're non-religious, it can be understood as these insights or these realizations. Intuition, on the other hand, is the ability to understand something immediately without conscious reasoning. So it's that gut feeling you get when you sense somebody across the room is looking at you and you turn and look directly at them. Like we've all done that a number of times, right? But we probably haven't really thought about what that is or how we know. Dr. Marcia Reynolds is a leadership coach, and she says, intuition is a gift that we all have. The more we pay attention to it, the stronger it becomes. Now, whether you're religious or not, the concept remains the same. There's wisdom available to us when we quiet our minds and when we listen. For some, this might be God or a higher power. For others, it could be the universe or simply our inner wisdom. Now I don't get so activated because I really do believe that most of us are seeking the same thing, but we use different words based on how we were raised and what we've been exposed to. Most of us truly are seeking that inner wisdom, and encourage you to not get caught up in the verbiage, but our common desire. We're seeking to create this space for silence, that intuition, that revelation, that guidance, so we can become our higher selves, our true selves, our best selves. We can create a space for silence, but it is important to do so proactively, like structure time in our day for that quiet reflection. That is really hard for me because I'm booked out. Being a business owner of a private practice, my online business, running a team, and all of the other things that come from having a family of 6. So there's a lot going on, and yet there's always time for it. One of my favorite quotes, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. If it's important to me to have that guidance, that intuition, that wisdom, then I will find a way, but it doesn't have to look like sitting in some yoga pose and trying to quiet my mind when it's going a million miles. It could look like something else. For example, I've noticed for me, it does happen on long runs, but I actually don't really love running as much as I want to be a runner. So it happens in other ways, like when I am going on walks, like I do therapeutic walks and just walk in my neighborhood, quick breaks. If I turn off anything I'm listening to and I just simply make it a prayer walk or just listen or open my mind to thoughts and ideas or even do a guided meditation while I'm walking. This creates a space, and I didn't even notice it before, but this is a space to get revelation and guidance, and thoughts are coming like crazy during this walk. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was actually really beneficial. Not recognizing it for what it was until not that long ago, to be honest. David A. Bednar is a leader in the Latter-day Saint Church, and he said, sometimes revelation comes in an instant, like flipping on a light switch, but more often it comes gradually, like a sunrise. I feel like it's like that for myself, and when I talk to so many of my clients, I recognize that I see that most of them don't recognize the answers as they are coming. They don't see it for the beauty that it is because they're living such a busy life. They don't recognize those subtle things as they come. And that's not a judgment to them. I think we all do that. But slowing down enough to see it and maybe helping others in our sphere of influence recognize those subtle answers as they come. And even asking the questions. Sometimes we're so busy we don't even ask the questions that we want. And I think that's why prayer is so beautiful, having things at the forefront of our mind. I want to talk about the science behind this. I've talked about it before, but not recently, and I love it. I have explored a lot of quantum physics, and it's fascinating and totally over my head. But if you remember from many episodes ago, me talking about something called quanta. So those are packets of light or energy, and scientists have found that there is consciousness or light in everything around us and every living thing. And in layman's terms, this means that everything in our universe, including our thoughts, is connected through energy. And I know that sounds like mind-baffling to so many of us. What the heck does that mean? Go and do a deep dive yourself because it is fascinating. There's so many great YouTube videos on it, so many great books. But it just means that consciousness and light are in all things. And science is starting to understand this. And this aligns with a lot of spiritual beliefs about interconnectedness. I love studying about these things. The more that I study, the more I see that it all does relate. And we're all saying different things that are pieces of the puzzle. And it's fascinating. When we slow down, we increase our light. When we find that stillness, we can tap into that universal energy more easily. Isn't that an amazing thought? And now we're able to show that scientifically, and we're just beginning to understand that. That is so incredible. Now I want to go back to my client Jen's story. So after our sessions, she realized that her form of meditation was actually gardening and running, and she dedicated 20 minutes each day to simply being present with her plants or running, and she didn't allow other things to distract her, like her phone or anything else. She just simply used that as a time to commune with a higher power and to open up her mind and her heart to not just receiving answers, but to asking those questions. And it was like every time she did that, it was this continued conversation with a higher power where she reported back on the things that she noticed, those subtleties, and asked for more information, more guidance, more revelation, and asked different questions. And even had a conversation about like, how else can she recognize those subtleties when it's so hard for her to see those things? But she started to get into the habit searching more for those subtle cues that showed up in the form of intuition or random thoughts, things that somebody said to her or something that she read, just sudden strokes of ideas. She told me about one time when she was running and she had the sudden realization that her oldest child's recent behavior issues were connected to him needing more choices and her really dialing in that discipline and having more order in the home. This insight allowed her to address the root problem and improve her relationship with her son and her other children. It also reminded her that she is getting subtle guidance all the time. And we all are, but we're often not open enough to receiving that guidance or that direction. Kabat-Zinn, I hope I pronounced that. I've read a lot of his stuff. But he is the creator of a mindfulness-based stress reduction, and he says this: the little things, the little moments, they aren't little. So these things really matter to us. They feel really big in the moment, but we can change that by opening ourselves to simple practices that are best suited to our personality that will help. Remember, like, just think about those times when you feel like you've had more clarity and your mind isn't spinning so much. Like maybe that's rock climbing, maybe that's a run, maybe that's deep cleaning your house with some meditation music on and having nobody else around. Like I do that in the morning sometimes really early while everyone's sleeping, and I love it. And I don't like cleaning, but I like cleaning when it's this Zen thing and all these thoughts are coming to my mind. I'm getting these sudden strokes of ideas. And I hadn't really thought of it as revelation before, but that's exactly what it is. So if you're feeling a little lost yourself like my client was, here are just a few simple suggestions for you to get started. Just start small, maybe 5 minutes a day of doing something that will quiet your mind and help make a difference. Again, it doesn't have to be in a yoga position. It can be something else. The second thing is just experiment. Try different activities and see what helps you personally quiet your mind and let go of what it's supposed to look like or the right way. Let go of that rigid thinking. The next thing is be consistent. So make it a daily practice, even if it's brief. Like I said, this can be like a twofer. This can be, okay, I'm going to deep clean for 20 minutes before my kids get home every weekday. And I'm going to make sure that's in my calendar. My alarm goes off. It's a non-negotiable. I put away all the things that will distract me besides maybe like meditation music. I set that timer for 20 minutes and I just do it. And I open my heart and my mind to receiving guidance. And I ask questions and I just have a conversation with God or any higher power, whatever that is. And last but not least, stay open. Don't dismiss those subtle insights or feelings. Recognize it for what it is and just write them down. Start to record them or put them in your phone, whatever it is. And you'll start to gain confidence in that intuition and that revelation as it comes. My friends, remember, as always, this is not about perfection, but it's about creating a space in your life for greater wisdom and insight. So to wrap up this episode today, meditation can take so many forms. Find what works for you. A space for silence opens up to revelation and intuition. And consistent practice really does lead to those profound insights and that personal growth, just like with my client. Both science and spirituality point to the power of quieting our minds in whatever way works for us. So whether you're a parent looking to reconnect with yourself or a spouse seeking to bring more light into your relationship, or just someone wanting to live more fully, I encourage you to find your personal path to stillness. You might be surprised at the wisdom that's waiting for you there if you just slow down. and allow some quiet and stillness in your life in a way that maybe you wouldn't have thought about before. This is Kendra Nielsen, and you've been listening to Fulfillment Therapy. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and remember your best self is waiting for you in those quiet moments. Don't forget to check out our courses on fulfillmenttherapy.org to help you take your personal and family life to the next level. Check out our parenting, marriage, and personal growth course, as well as our 3 courses to help you start your podcast and online business. If you want to create that passive income for a flexible family life, check those out at fulfillmenttherapy.org. All right, my friends, I'll see you back here in just a few days. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you, no matter what your house or your hair looks like. I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.